So, since Landon was there at the original conception of the idea for Time Cop, he'd probably be the best to explain its origins.
Well, it was a couple years ago. We were invited to a Halloween party, and we had nothing to wear, no Halloween costumes. Unlike now, where we have tons of Halloween costumes. We could go as all sorts of things for Halloween. But, so I had to slap something together so I didn't just look like some loser. And so I chose the beastly idea of Time Cop. Just made up, just Time Cop. He just travels through time fighting crimes. At the time we didn't know there was a movie called Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And we need to watch that someday because I don't know how similar it is really. So yeah, so I just put on a jacket, put a label on my jacket, said Time Cop, put on some like Oakleys or something a friend had, put a Darth Vader helmet on the top part of my head, and went as Time Cop for Halloween. And so when we were talking about ideas, when we first kind of started getting equipment to make videos and stuff, Time Cop just came up with like, you know what, it's actually kind of a funny idea. This guy travels through time and, you know, sort of like butterfly effect kind of stuff where he tries to stop one really seemingly meaningless thing from happening in the past to stop like an apocalyptic future from happening. And so, what was it, summer of 2010?
Yeah, something like that.
We filmed some parts of Time Cop. We didn't really have a grand like story or anything. We just started filming scenes and kind of made like a trailer and put it together. Maybe we could show you guys some of that. It was the first thing that we really kind of did as a group outside of all the videos we did as kids. We hadn't done anything for several years and we decided to jump back on it. And so it's kind of surprising looking at it now. We've come a long ways even from then. Even for what this YouTube video was, which was just silly and just kind of pulling it out our butts like pretty fast. It was still better than that. We spent like months on it.
So there are some really great things about the way we operate. But there are also some really terrible things about the way we operate. The thing that's great about the way that we do what we do is that we get it done very fast. We don't waste a lot of time discussing how we're going to do something. We just say, screw it. Why do we sit here and talk about it? Let's just go do it. And it gets done. And it gets done on a weekly basis, which is, you know, it's impressive. However, the problem with that is that you end up on set and your actor has no idea what he's supposed to say. So we just had Landon saying a bunch of random stuff that we knew wasn't going to go in the final video because we hadn't thought about what we wanted Time Cop to say. So we figure, oh, he's got a mask on. No one's going to be able to tell what he's saying underneath the mask. Turns out you can. So the lip sync is way off and it looks terrible and it's all a byproduct of not organizing and not planning. So we figured we would let you guys see what some of the original dialogue was like in our original cut of the film. So, what are you doing in my house?
You listen to me and you listen close. I have a mission for you. If you accept, one for yes, two for no. Humanity, as you know it, will cease to exist as a species in 500 years. I'm talking about in the year 2525 of the fifth age of humanity. The machines rise up and they use that one extra scrap of garbage to tip the scales against the humans and enslave the human race. God creates God. Or no, God creates man. Or no, wait, God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man creates dinosaurs. Dinosaurs destroy man.
Alright, I got a lot of requests to do a tutorial on how the Time Cop voice was put together. And it's actually not that hard. We were a little bit pressed for time this week, so I had to throw something together a little faster than usual. So the very first thing generally you want to do when you're doing sound design is you want to equalize your file. Now, what an equalizer is it gives you an opportunity to play with specific frequencies. And when I say frequencies, I mean the range of sound from low pitch to high pitch.
So in this equalizer we have here, you see this line going from left to right. On the left, you have your low end frequencies. Frequencies are measured in hertz, which is this Hz over here. Okay, the lower the number of hertz, that's the lower pitch, or the lower the frequency of the sound. On this end, you have the higher frequency or higher pitch of the sound. But you never want to boost down here in the lower end anyway, because what that will do is screw up your speaker system. It will really mess up your bass speakers, your subwoofers, and things like that, because it will try to input that sound and the vibrations will really jack it all up. So never boost this stuff down here. You never ever do that. If anything, take it down or just leave it at 0. Do not boost this. This is bad. Never do this. You will freaking screw yourself over. So, because this sound file we have here is a little bit, just from listening to it, it sounds a little bit muddy. We want to brighten it up a little bit. Usually what I do is I bring around between like 6,000 and 8,000 hertz. I usually boost this a little bit first. And what that's going to do is it's going to brighten up our sound a bit.
I come from the future. Identify yourself, citizen.
And you might want to boost it a little more. And you're just going to kind of listen to it.
Come from the future. Identify yourself, citizen.
And that really brightens it up a little bit. Another thing I like to do is come in about this range, about 100, between 100 and 200 hertz, and boost the bass a little bit. And that gives a little bit more, especially for a male voice. And especially for this deep voice that we're going to be going for, it gives it a lot more punch and oomph and presence.
I come from the future. Identify yourself, citizen.
So you can definitely hear now it's a little bit more powerful, which is awesome. So that's the basic EQ that I do for almost every human voice. If it's a woman, I tend not to do this bass boost. I just do it over here. And if the original source file is really muddy, I'll actually bring the midtones down, but I don't think we need to do that here. So that's just kind of my general EQ, just basic EQ that I tend to do for a lot of things. However, you know, depends on what you're working with. But now the second thing we're going to do is we're going to go and do a pitch correction. And for Time Cop's voice, I actually went down to -5 semitones. Again, it doesn't matter what software you're using. All of these things are going to be available in whatever you're using, whether you're using Audacity or even Premiere itself. A lot of these effects are available in there. You just have to know the terminology. An EQ or an equalizer is usually where you start. And here we're going to be doing a pitch correction, which is also available in Audacity or Premiere or anything you're working with. They're going to have these options. And dropping by -5 semitones is really going to lower Landon's voice by quite a bit. If you go much, especially for a male voice, much lower than 5 semitones, it's going to start sounding really distorted. So -5 is about as far as I felt I could go and make it sound good. So let's take a listen now.
Come from the future. Identify yourself, citizen.
So yeah, we got a beastly...
Come from the future. Identify yourself, citizen.
A really beastly sound going on there. Now the next thing I did was I actually went into some of these special effects that they have here in Audition. And I know that they're going to have something similar in other programs, and maybe not something exactly the same. But basically what we're doing is we're just adding a distortion. And Audition comes with a lot of really cool defaults or presets of different distortion that you can play with here. And you can actually save your own. So I can go through here and mess with all this stuff. And if I find something that I like, I can then save that preset, right? But it comes with a few default presets, and Drum Suite was one that I really liked. However, I went to Smooth Overdrive rather than the Garage Fuzz, and I brought this down a little bit more to like 35%, and I brought this here down to about 40%. And what this will do is it'll actually introduce a lot of noise, but it'll get the distortion that we like. So let's take a listen to this.
I come from the future. Identify yourself, citizen.
And there you go. You've got the Time Cop voice.
I come from the future. Identify yourself, citizen.
That's pretty much the basics of it. Now, when you get that noise introduced into the sound, a good way to get rid of it, it really depends on where it's coming from. Which frequency is the noise living in? Generally, hiss is going to be way up here in the very higher end frequencies. And hiss is really easy to get rid of. All you have to do is really just drop off the these frequencies up here, because the human voice doesn't come anywhere close to this frequency. The human voice rides somewhere in between. If it's a male, you know, down in here, up through about 8K tops. If it's a female, about 1K to 8K tops. But it never goes much higher than that. So all of this is just noise that we don't need for the human voice. I mean, if we're doing cymbals, if we're like mixing a song or something like that, and you got a drum kit with a cymbal on it, that would live in here. But the human voice is all over this range. So all of this is just unneeded noise. So depending on how much hiss you have, you can really just kind of drop that out. What they have in Audition, and what I ended up using, is just a adaptive noise reduction. And what this tool does, it's really cool, is it samples basically any time that there's not, like for instance, in this file, we have all of these waves here. And in between these waves is where this tool is going to go through and evaluate, like, what is the sound that's going on in between these spikes in the waves. And it's going to identify that sound, and then it's going to kill it. At basically any time that this wave is not happening, it's going to go in between and just kill all noise in between. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can play with here, but the more you do this, the more distorted the sound is going to be. So you really have to kind of play with these numbers until you get something that's acceptable. Something that is going to kill the noise so it's not distracting, but at the same time not manipulate the sound of the voice so that it's also distracting. So you kind of just play with that, and that's it. That is Timecop's voice. That's all there is to it. Not really too difficult. Let's go ahead and have a listen, and thanks for watching.
I come from the future. Identify yourself, citizen. No need. My chrono scanners have confirmed you are the one destined to save mankind.